Apple doesn't always host October events. Given that a September event is a given, having a second event in October is literally twice the work for everyone. That includes the teams at Apple who have to set up and run it, along with everything that entails, and for attendees who have to travel and cover everything that gets announced. The alternative is dropping a series of press releases or holding a bevy of briefings. But when Apple wants to show off new designs and highlight new technology, when it wants to go into the holidays with an extra boom, it's with an October event. So if there is an October event this year, what could we see? I'm Rene Ritchie. Welcome back to Vector. I love seeing you all here. Let's take a look. On October 23, 2012, Apple debuted the iPad mini, iPad 4, the thinner iMac, and the 13-inch Retina MacBook Pro. On October 13, 2013, Apple showed off the Retina iPad mini 2, iPad Air, and an updated MacBook Pro. On October 16, 2014, Apple announced the iPad mini 3, iPad Air 2, and the original 5K Retina iMac. On October 27, 2016, Apple introduced the new MacBook Pro. Sure, past behavior is no guarantee of future behavior, but it's the best predictor we have, and October certainly seems to have more events than not. Traditionally, they were at Town Hall, the small, intimate venue at Infinite Loop. Town Hall is now retired, but Apple Park has the shiny new Steve Jobs Theater. It's far bigger than Town Hall, but maybe that's not a bad thing. Apple could always take everyone on a Chicago-style field trip again, like it did back in March, but why build one of the best venues in the world if you're not going to show it off, at least twice a year? So let's assume for now it'll be at the Steve Jobs Theater. The lights will come up. Tim Cook will cross the giant Apple logo, waving, smiling, and ready to go. Will we get anything about privacy or the environment, social initiatives, or an update on existing businesses? Maybe, especially if Apple has something interesting to report. Otherwise, it'll be straight on to the products. Cook will handle the preliminary introductions. He's been doing that for a few years now, and he's gotten pretty good at saying what he wants to talk about, showing a quick teaser video, announcing the name,
"This is the iPad Pro,"
and then handing off to a product lead. For iPad, lately, that's been Greg Joswiak, Jaws, Vice President of Product Marketing. Back in March, Jaws introduced the new 9.7-inch iPad with Apple Pencil and Logitech Crayon support starting at $329. I called it half the Pro for half the price, and it was and is hugely appealing. So how does Apple make the next iPad Pro even more appealing, especially at twice the price? The obvious answer is with an iPhone X style redesign. Whittling down the bezels and deleting the home button will get us most of the way there, especially if the display stays at around 12.9 and 10.5 inches. It removes casing while preserving content, leaves them just as powerful, but makes them ever so slightly more portable. Will that cost us the 3.5mm headphone jack because it won't fit under the edge to almost edge display? Will it give us USB-C instead of Lightning to increase general compatibility at the expense of Apple-specific compatibility? We'll just have to wait and see. Without a home button, there's no Touch ID, but Face ID should take its place. That means a true depth camera on the front, and that means either last year's A11 Bionic or this year's A12 Bionic inside. I'm very much hoping for the latter. Apple doesn't update the iPads Pro yearly, so when they do, they should absolutely get the best silicon available. I'd love a new smart keyboard with some kind of capacitive spacebar that mimics the on-screen trackpad mode, and a next-generation quote-unquote number 2 pencil that does instant pairing with iPad Pro the way the Crayon does with a 9.7-inch iPad. Oh, and charges and sticks to that new extra smart connector on the back. If Apple can do all of that, make an iPad Pro 10 that's every bit as appealing as iPhone XS and Apple Watch Series 4, then it'll be a home run.
For 25 years, we've been defining and redefining what a notebook is and what a notebook can do. And today, we're going to do it again.
Back to Tim for a Mac introduction. Then it'll be interesting to see if it goes to Phil Schiller, head of worldwide product marketing, or someone like John Turnus, vice president of Mac and iPad engineering. But either way, Macbook Air. I've already done a whole video about what that product could be like. Too long, didn't watch? The current MacBook Air is still far too outdated, and the current 12-inch MacBook is way too expensive to be entry-level, and that means Apple needs something new to rejuvenate its lineup. Stick Retina and Touch ID and a decent complement of ports into a package that sells for less than $1,000, and you know what you get? A lot of damage to the premium PC market as everybody rushes to update. When it comes to desktop Macs, as I've said before, somehow over the last few years, Apple lost its way. You can put some of that on Intel's broken roadmap, but it's mostly Apple's other products sapping away all the attention that deserves all of the blame. I won't rehash all of the issues here, but two of the biggest examples are the Mac Pro, which Apple admitted made the wrong bets and got backed into a thermal corner, and the Mac Mini that began to feel like, frankly, abandonware. Apple has already announced an all-new, all-modular Mac Pro with Pro Display for 2019, but what about a new Mac Mini? Rumor has it, now, at long last, finally, it's on its way. Not in a traditional entry-level bring your own monitor, keyboard, and mouse switch to the Mac way for those just getting into Apple, but also for those who are already into Apple and just want a small, quiet, powerful Mac for development, server rooms, media, and more. We could even see a return of the higher-end Pro-focused Mac Mini with more storage, more memory, and more powerful internals. No, probably not running ARM, at least not yet, but something that leverages all the work of the Pro team Apple assembled for iMac Pro, the new Mac Pro, and the new MacBooks Pro. The one that makes it feel like Apple finally has its Mac legs back under it and is ready to run again. Back in July, Apple updated its Touch Bar MacBook Pro to Intel's Coffee Lake architecture and even pushed out the SKU of many Pro dreams, up to 4 terabytes of storage and 32 gigabytes of RAM. But that still leaves several other machines waiting to get their Coffee Lake on, including the 12-inch MacBook, if Apple keeps it around, the non-Touch Bar MacBook Pro, if Apple keeps it around, or if not, whatever Apple chooses to replace those machines with. And of course, iMacs and iMac Pros need their spec bumps too. I'd argue they need an iPhone X style makeover with edge-to-edge displays and Face ID authentication all their own, but it feels like this is iPad's year and the Mac will have to wait for next. I don't think we'll see AirPods until the spring and AirPower until we see it at some form at some point. iPhone XR is coming though, which may complicate the timeline, but iOS 12.1 should come with it for both iPhone and the new iPad Pro features, likewise an update for Mojave for Mac. Will Apple's texture-based magazine subscription service be ready to announce? I'm not sure quite yet. With iWork apps updated last March, could we see Pro apps like the perpetually wishlisted Final Cut or Xcode for iPad Pro? I guess it depends if Apple thinks they can deliver a compelling experience for the former, but the latter seems far more like a WWDC 2019 announcement. Besides, we all know it'll be the Memoji and Animoji demos for the iPad Pro, along with the group FaceTime calls. That'll be the big demos, right? Right? Either way, iPad Pro and the new Macs will be brilliant canvases for creatives, especially for editing in everything from Final Cut to Premiere to Lightroom and more. If you want to learn how to edit like a pro or just get better at your existing editing workflow, check out Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with over 20,000 classes in video editing, audio editing, image editing, and more. Premium membership gives you unlimited access to high-quality classes and, push all that new hardware to its new hardware limits. To sign up, visit the link in the description and get 2 months of unlimited access for free. Act now, start learning today. Thank you so much, Skillshare. Okay, so if there is an October event, that's how I think it'll go down, with Apple focusing on entry-level and consumer Macs with a bit of Pro flair and iPads that are all about the Pro. But now I want to know what you think. Will Apple hold an October event? What will they show off? What do you want them to show off? What do you absolutely not want to see? Hit like, hit subscribe, and then hit up the comments below. And thank you so much for watching.